When a homeless black woman enters St. Catherine's Hospital seeking care, she's met with cruel indifference from a cold-hearted nurse. But what the nurse doesn't know is that this homeless woman is actually Veronica King, the hospital's wealthy owner. What happens when the truth is revealed? A shocking confrontation, an unexpected lesson, and a life-changing transformation prove that prejudice can blind us to the power of compassion. Watch till the end to see justice unfold. The rain fell in relentless sheets over Stockholm, Sweden, drumming against the glass facade of Lindström and Kellberg, a prestigious law firm nestled in the city's financial district. At 47, Evelyn Lindström was its CEO, a formidable woman with ash-blonde hair and a reputation for ruthless precision. She'd taken the firm from her late father's modest legacy and built it into a Nordic legal titan, her name synonymous with power and privilege. But beneath the polished surface, cracks had formed. Anonymous complaints from staff, whispers of racism among her managers, stories she couldn't ignore. From her corner office, she couldn't see the truth, so she decided to step into it. For a month, she planned in secret. A theater friend skilled in prosthetics transformed her, darkening her skin with subtle makeup, threading gray into her hair, dressing her in a threadbare coat and scuffed boots. She became Marika Jones, a homeless black woman with a fabricated tale of hardship. On a bleak November morning, she hunched her shoulders against the wind and shuffled into her own firm's lobby, a crumpled resume clutched in her trembling hands. Her heart thudded, not from fear, but from the weight of what she might find. The lobby gleamed with Scandinavian minimalism, blonde wood, sleek chairs, a receptionist behind a curved desk. She approached, her voice low and roughened. "Hi, I'm here about a job. Cleaning, filing, anything you've got." The receptionist, a young man named Lucas, glanced up, his blue eyes narrowing slightly. "We don't take walk-ins," he said, his tone clipped. "Leave your resume if you want." She slid the paper across, watching him toss it into a drawer without a second look. Step 1 complete. She lingered, observing. Lawyers in crisp suits, paralegals with hurried steps, none sparing her a glance. Then she headed upstairs to HR, the real test. Marcus Berg, the hiring manager, sat in a cluttered office on the 4th floor, his broad frame squeezed into a chair, his tie askew. At 52, he'd been with the firm for decades, a gruff gatekeeper who prided himself on maintaining standards. Evelyn knocked, stepping in as Marika. "Excuse me, sir. I'm looking for work. I've done odd jobs, cleaning, organizing. I just need a chance." He looked up, his gray eyes raking over her, her stained coat, her weathered face. "You serious?" He snorted, leaning back. "This isn't a shelter. We don't hire people off the street." "I'm willing to start small," she said, pressing forward. "I'm reliable. Please." He stood, his bulk filling the space, his voice rising. "Look at you, dirty, desperate. You think you belong here? This is a top-tier firm, not some charity case. Get out before I have you thrown out." Her chest tightened, the humiliation cutting deeper than she'd expected. She'd prepared for this. But the venom in his words, "people like you," hit hard. "I just want a job," she murmured, testing him further. "Out!" he bellowed, jabbing a finger at the door. "You're wasting my time. Go beg somewhere else." Heads turned in the hallway, whispers trailing her as she retreated. She left the building, the rain cold against her face, masking the sting in her eyes. It wasn't just a role anymore. It was a mirror, reflecting a truth she'd let fester. That night, In her Ostermalm penthouse, Evelyn peeled off Marika's layers. The makeup washed away, but the ache stayed. She'd built Lindstrom and Kellberg on principles, justice, excellence, yet Marcus's cruelty proved how hollow they'd become. The next morning, she strode back into the firm as herself, blonde, commanding, her heels clicking with purpose, calling an all-hands meeting. The conference room hummed with tension as managers filed in. Marcus slouched in his usual seat, oblivious. Evelyn stood at the head, her voice steel. Yesterday, a woman came here seeking work. She was rejected, humiliated, because of how she looked. Anyone know about this? Silence stretched, broken by Marcus's grunt. Yeah, some homeless chick. I sent her packing. Didn't fit the image. Evelyn's gaze pinned him. That woman was me. The room gasped. Marcus's jaw dropped, his ruddy face draining of color. What? She clicked a remote, projecting two images. Marika, bedraggled, beside Evelyn, pristine. I went undercover to test our culture. You failed, Marcus. You didn't just turn her away. You degraded her, me, because of assumptions about race and worth. He sputtered. I didn't know it was you. That's the problem, she cut in. You shouldn't need to know who I am to treat me like a human. This isn't isolated. It's systemic. And it ends today. Murmurs rippled. Shock, guilt, defiance. She raised a hand. Marcus stays for now. So do you all. But you're on a leash. We're fixing this, starting with action. Evelyn didn't settle for promises. She launched a mandate. Every manager volunteering in community programs paired with intensive anti-bias training. Marcus was assigned to a shelter in Rinkeby, a diverse suburb he'd always avoided, serving immigrants and low-income families. He balked, but Evelyn's glare silenced him. Do it, or you're out. The shelter was a squat brick building, its walls plastered with kids' drawings. Marcus showed up in a stiff jacket, stacking food boxes with a scowl. That's where he met Layla Hassan, a 40-year-old volunteer with warm brown skin and a hijab framing her sharp eyes. She was a single mom, a former refugee who'd clawed her way to stability as a social worker. She greeted him with a nod. First time here? Yeah, he muttered, avoiding her gaze. Not my scene. She smirked. It's everyone's scene if you care enough. He ignored her, focusing on the boxes, but Layla didn't let up, asking about his job, teasing his grumpiness. One day, he snapped, Why are you even talking to me? You don't need this place. I did once, she said, unfazed. Lived on the streets after fleeing Somalia. Now I help. What's your excuse? Her words lodged in him, sharp and unyielding. Training came next. Weekly sessions with consultants who dismantled his worldview. They asked hard questions. Who've you dismissed? Why? Marcus squirmed, recalling Marika, Evelyn, his casual cruelty. He'd grown up in a small Swedish town, taught to distrust outsiders. The firm had fed that, rewarding his gatekeeping. Now it unraveled. At the shelter, Layla became a constant, challenging him, laughing with him, softening his edges. He started helping more, fixing a leaky sink, teaching kids basic math. One evening, as they sorted donations, he admitted, I was wrong. About a lot. She nodded. Good. Keep proving it. Evelyn watched Marcus shift. She joined him at Rinkeby sometimes, seeing him joke with Layla, carry a toddler on his shoulders. You're changing, she told him over coffee one day. Thanks to you, he said, rubbing his neck. And her. I didn't see how blind I was. Don't stop, she replied. Neither will I. A year later, Lindstrom and Kaleberg was unrecognizable. Evelyn overhauled hiring, blind applications, diverse panels, while the staff mirrored Stockholm's tapestry. Marcus stayed, his office now cluttered with shelter photos, including one of him and Layla at a fundraiser. Their bond had grown, friendship turning to something deeper. He'd asked her out, stammering, and she'd grinned. Took you long enough? She'd been homeless once, a past he'd have scorned. Now it anchored him. One night, Evelyn hosted a firm gala at her penthouse. Marcus arrived with Layla, their hands clasped. She pulled him aside. You've come far. You made me, he said. I didn't get it. How small I was. Now I do. She smiled. Keep going. He rejoined Layla, the room alive with chatter, the city sparkling below. The firm thrived, profits steady, culture reborn, but Evelyn knew the work lingered. So did Marcus's. Old habits whispered in quiet moments. Could they push further? Could she? Layla laughed, pulling Marcus to dance. The story wasn't done.